The alien struggled. The planet was unfamiliar. The sky above was a deep shade of purple, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. The air was thick and harsh, filled with a bitter, metallic taste. The alien woman, barely standing, shivered as the wind whipped her frail body. She had traveled far from her home, crossing endless stars, only to find herself stranded on this barren world. Her supplies were gone, and her strength was quickly fading. Her body, designed for a different environment, struggled to adjust to the cold air and the strange gravity. Each step she took was heavy, like her legs were made of stone. Her thin clothing, once brightly colored and sturdy, was now torn and faded, unable to protect her from the harsh conditions. She had never felt so weak in her life, and the fear of death began to creep into her mind. She looked around, desperate for any sign of life. But the planet was empty. No animals, no trees, no familiar structures. Just endless dust and jagged rocks scattered across the barren plains. She had no idea where she was, or how long it would take for someone to find her. But she knew one thing for sure: if she didn't find food soon, she wouldn't survive. Her stomach growled painfully, a reminder of the days without nourishment. She had searched for food for what felt like weeks, but every effort had ended in failure. The resources on this planet were unlike anything she had seen before. Nothing she could eat. The alien woman had never been more aware of her own vulnerability. That as she wandered, her thoughts turned to her people. They were far away, on a planet light years from here. How had she ended up here? She had been sent on a mission, a simple task of exploration, but everything went wrong. Her ship had been struck by something in deep space, and she had crash-landed on this unknown planet, alone, with no way to communicate with her people. She had tried everything to fix her ship, but the damage was too severe. Now, with no other choice, she had to survive. She had no other option but to keep moving, hoping to find anything that could help her. Hours passed, and the alien woman's strength continued to fade. She stumbled over rocks, her vision growing blurry. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the landscape. The temperature dropped sharply, and her body began to tremble from the cold. She pulled her thin cloak tighter around her, but it did little to help then. As she rounded a large rock, she saw something that caught her attention: a human settlement. She froze. It was a small village, nothing more than a few simple buildings, but it was a sign of life. She hadn't expected to find any humans here, and she wasn't sure what to think. She had heard stories of humans, of course, but she had never encountered them before. Her first instinct was to run. The fear of being discovered, of being captured or attacked, was strong. But then, the alien woman remembered something else. She needed food. She needed help. If she could just find someone who would listen, someone who could help her, maybe, just maybe, she could survive. She hesitated for a moment, looking over the settlement. It was small and quiet, with only a few people moving about. Her heart raced as she took a cautious step forward, then another. The air felt thick with uncertainty, and she didn't know if she was making the right decision. But desperation pushed her forward. The alien woman approached the first person she saw, a human man standing by a small market stall. He looked at her, his eyes widening in surprise. She could see the fear in his gaze, but also a hint of curiosity. He hadn't expected to see an alien here, especially not one who looked so fragile. "Please," the alien woman said, her voice barely a whisper. She was unsure if he could understand her, but she had to try. "I need food." The man stared at her for a moment, still unsure of what to make of the strange creature in front of him. She was unlike anything he had ever seen before: pale skin, delicate features, and a body that seemed barely able to stand. He could see the desperation in her eyes. It was clear she was in need. "Food?" he asked slowly, as if testing the word. The alien woman nodded, her voice growing weaker. "Please, I have nothing. I will trade anything for food." Her words seemed to get through to him, but the man still hesitated. The alien's appearance was alarming, and he had no idea what kind of creature she was. He had heard stories of aliens before, but seeing one up close was something else entirely. He wasn't sure if he should trust her, or even if it was safe to help her. But then he looked at her again, and something changed. He could see the exhaustion in her face, the raw desperation in her eyes. He had seen that look before, in the eyes of people who had lost everything. He didn't know why, but something in him stirred. After a long pause, the man nodded. "All right," he said cautiously. "I can give you some food, but it'll cost you." The alien woman's heart skipped a beat. What could she offer? She had nothing left. But then, as her mind raced, an idea came to her. She could offer what little she had: her clothes. They were no longer of much use to her, but perhaps they would be worth something to him. "I will trade my clothes," she said, her voice barely audible. The man looked at her, puzzled. "Your clothes?" He wasn't sure if he understood, but he could tell she was serious. There was something in the way she spoke, something that told him she had nothing left to give. He nodded slowly. "All right, it's a deal." The alien woman felt a strange mixture of relief and shame. She had nothing left to trade, but she had made the exchange. Now, she would get what she needed to survive: food. As she watched the human walk away, she couldn't shake the feeling that this moment would change everything. Would this be the beginning of something new? Or was this just another moment of desperation in a never-ending struggle for survival? She didn't know yet. But one thing was clear. She had made the right choice, and for now, it was enough. The alien woman looked out across the small village, her heart still racing. Whatever happened next, she had made it through another day. A desperate deal, the alien woman sat on the cold, cracked ground beneath a half-dead tree, clutching the small bundle of food the human had given her. Her body trembled from both hunger and fear. She had never felt so vulnerable in her life. The food, though meager, was a lifeline. But something gnawed at her, an unsettling feeling, as though this moment was far from simple. Something in the air felt wrong. She glanced nervously around the village. The people here, though kind enough to offer her food, were not the welcoming strangers she had hoped for. She had received an odd mixture of sympathy and wariness in their eyes. Her very presence seemed to stir an undercurrent of fear, though no one had outright harmed her. Yet, she knew she couldn't stay much longer. If the humans decided they didn't want her here, things could turn deadly. She was an outsider, a foreign being from a distant star, and she could feel the weight of her alien status closing in. The food helped ease the gnawing pain in her stomach, but it didn't erase the overwhelming sense of urgency. The planet was harsh, the weather growing colder by the hour, and still, she couldn't afford to let her guard down, not for a second. She had to find shelter, find safety, or risk becoming just another casualty of this strange world. She was still lost in her thoughts when the sound of footsteps reached her ears. She looked up and saw the human man from earlier, the one who had given her the food, was walking toward her, a grim look on his face. The alien woman's heart raced again. What did he want now? Was he coming to kick her out? Or worse, had he changed his mind and decided she wasn't worth helping? Her eyes darted nervously around, but the human didn't seem aggressive. He paused a few feet away from her, his expression unreadable. "You're still here," he said simply, his voice low. The alien woman nodded, too weak to speak. She had no energy for pleasantries. Her body felt like it was dragging her down, heavy and worn. You should leave," the human continued, his eyes scanning the village nervously. "It's not safe here, not for someone like you." Her heart sank. She had known this moment would come. She couldn't stay here forever, but it was all happening too quickly. She hadn't expected him to suggest leaving. She needed help. She couldn't survive without it. If she ran, if she had nowhere else to go, there was no chance of survival. But before she could respond, he took a step closer. His voice softened. "Wait, I'm not saying you need to go. But if you're going to survive, you'll need to be careful. These people, they're not as kind as they seem. And you, being, well, not human, you'll be a target soon enough. Trust me." The alien woman stared at him, her mind racing. Was he warning her out of kindness? Or was there something more to his words, something deeper? She had no time to ask questions. Her survival depended on understanding his motives quickly. "Then, what should I do?" she whispered, her voice cracking slightly from both exhaustion and fear. The man took a breath, his gaze flickering over the village again, before turning back to her. "I can't keep you here, not in the open, but I can help you. I know a place, a hideout, if you will. A place where you'll be safe, at least for now." The alien woman's eyes widened. Could she trust him? Was this the help she had been waiting for? Or was he leading her into a trap? "You must understand," he continued, his tone becoming more serious. "You're not just some lost traveler. To them, you're a threat. And the longer you stay here, the more they'll realize you don't belong. It'll be harder to protect you, a threat." The alien woman's mind raced. Her race, her people, they weren't known to be dangerous. Yet, here, she was considered an outsider, something to fear. It made no sense. She was simply a survivor, stranded on a strange world, but she had no choice but to believe him. If there was even a chance of safety, she had to take it. "Where is this place?" she asked, her voice growing steadier now. The human hesitated, casting one final glance around the village before leaning in closer. "I'll take you there, but you need to follow me quietly. No one can know you're leaving. It's dangerous for both of us if we're seen." Her heart pounded in her chest. She wasn't sure why, but something about the urgency in his voice told her he wasn't lying. He genuinely wanted to help her, or at least, he seemed to. But even as he spoke, she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling at the back of her mind. Was he leading her into even greater danger? Or was this the escape she had been searching for before she could ask any more questions? He turned and began walking toward the outskirts of the village, motioning for her to follow. Her instinct screamed at her to be cautious, but she had no other choice. She had to take the risk. If she didn't, she would be trapped, here alone and vulnerable. With a deep breath, she pushed herself up from the ground, her body shaking with exhaustion but driven by a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in days. She followed him, keeping a safe distance, her eyes darting around the village. The quiet was unsettling, as though the entire settlement was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen as they moved through the narrow alleyways and hidden paths. The alien woman couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. It was too quiet. There were too many eyes on her. Even though the streets seemed empty, she could feel the tension in the air, the sense that something was watching them. waiting. Just as they reached the edge of the village, the human suddenly stopped. The alien woman, still a few steps behind. They barely had time to react. From the shadows, a figure emerged, a tall, imposing man with a dark cloak. His eyes locked onto her, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. The figure didn't speak. He didn't need to. The message was clear. She was not welcome here. The human quickly stepped forward, blocking the alien woman from view. Go. Get to the hideout. Now, he whispered urgently, his voice sharp with panic. The alien woman's pulse quickened. She could feel the danger closing in, but there was no turning back now. The man's warning echoed in her mind. She had made the deal, and now, there was no choice but to follow through. The chase had begun. A human's compassion, the alien woman's breath came in sharp, ragged gasps as she followed the human through the darkened streets. Her mind raced, her senses on high alert. Every corner they passed felt like it could be their last. She could feel the weight of the eyes on her, the feeling of being hunted, as if the shadows themselves were watching. The world had shifted from a place of quiet desperation to one of overwhelming danger. But even as fear gripped her heart, something in the human's actions stood out to her. He moved quickly, but without hesitation, guiding her through the alleyways, as though he knew exactly where to go. His hand, though briefly resting on her shoulder to reassure her, was gentle. His manner was not one of fear, but of purpose. For the first time since landing on this foreign planet, the alien woman felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. It was fleeting, fragile, but it was there. They reached a small, hidden doorway, built into the side of an old building, nearly invisible in the moonlight. The human quickly glanced around, ensuring no one was watching before he stepped forward, opening the door just wide enough for her to slip through. Inside was dark, cool, and musty. The smell of old wood and dust filled her nostrils, making her feel oddly at home in its quiet, neglected atmosphere. She stepped inside, careful not to make a sound, and the human followed, closing the door behind him. "What is this place?" the alien woman whispered, her voice still unsteady from the escape. The man didn't immediately respond. Instead, he walked toward the far wall where a small, dim light flickered on. It revealed a room that was sparse but functional. Some old furniture, a few supplies stacked against the walls, and a makeshift bed in one corner. It looked like a hideout, a place that no one was meant to find. "This is where I live," he said, his tone more subdued now. "It's not much, but it's safe. For now." The alien woman looked around, still trying to process everything. She wasn't sure if she should feel relief or suspicion. The air in this room was different, charged with something unspoken. He had brought her here out of the kindness of his heart, or so it seemed. But the nagging feeling in the back of her mind told her that there was more to this man than she had initially realized. "You didn't have to help me," she said quietly, her gaze locked on him. "Why did you?" He turned to face her, his expression unreadable. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, as though he were carefully choosing his words, he finally said, "Because you don't deserve to die out there, not like that." The alien woman blinked, taken aback. His words were simple, yet they carried a weight that she couldn't ignore. He wasn't acting out of obligation or self-interest. There was something deeper, a genuine compassion in his voice that caught her off guard. "Out there," he continued, "it's not just the planet you have to worry about. It's the people they don't trust, what they don't understand. And right now, you're something they don't understand. I've seen what happens to people like you when they don't have protection. I couldn't just let you be another casualty." His voice hardened at the last part, but there was no anger, only an undercurrent of something, perhaps regret, or even fear. He was speaking from experience, and it unsettled her. Who was this man? What had he seen that made him so driven to protect her? Before she could ask, the human gestured for her to sit. She complied, collapsing onto the bed in exhaustion. The food he had given her earlier had helped a little, but her body was still worn from the long days of wandering and the emotional strain. For a while, neither of them spoke. She simply stared at the dim light above them, watching its flicker, trying to process the bizarre reality she had found herself in. A human, someone from a race she had never trusted, had just risked everything to help her. And now, here she was, a stranger in his home, a prisoner of the planet's circumstances. As the silence stretched, the man moved to a nearby table, pulling out a small, worn map of the planet. He unfolded it, his fingers tracing the lines and symbols drawn across its surface. "We're safe here for now," he said after a long pause. "But not for long. This place won't stay hidden forever." The alien woman looked up at him, confused. "What do you mean? I don't understand. Why are they hunting me?" The human's eyes darkened. He placed the map on the table with a quiet thud. "Because you're not from here, and no one trusts what they don't know. The people in this village, they have their reasons for being afraid of outsiders. They think you're a threat, and once they realize what you really are, they won't stop until they capture you." The words hung in the air like a thick fog. The alien woman's mind raced as she tried to understand. What could she possibly be to them that would make them view her as a threat? She wasn't dangerous. She had done nothing to them. She was just lost, but she had no time to dwell on it. She had to focus on surviving, on making it through whatever came next. "So what do we do now?" she asked. her voice steady despite the fear building within her. The human paused, his eyes locked on hers. For the first time since she had met him, there was something in his gaze that made her stomach twist, something darker, something that hinted at the gravity of the situation. "We leave," he said simply. Tonight, the alien woman's heart skipped a beat. Leave. After everything they had been through, he was suggesting they run again. Her instincts screamed at her to ask more questions, but she kept quiet. She had no choice but to trust him before she could respond. The door to the room suddenly creaked. A chill ran down her spine as the sound echoed through the silence. The human's eyes snapped to the door, and he reached for something hidden beneath his Jaquita weapon. The tension in the room thickened instantly. Someone was here, and they weren't alone. The alien woman's heart pounded in her chest. Who was it? What did they want? And why now? As the door creaked open, her pulse quickened. This was the moment she had feared, a moment that would change everything, and there was no turning back. The humans promised. The door creaked open, casting a long shadow across the dimly lit room. The alien woman froze, every muscle in her body locking up. She could feel her pulse in her throat, a rapid drumbeat of fear and anticipation. The human, standing beside her, had already moved, his hand instinctively reaching for the weapon hidden beneath his jacket. His body tensed, as though preparing for a fight. The door slowly swung wider, and a figure stepped inside. It was a woman, tall and strong-looking, her eyes sharp and calculating. She wore a dark cloak that blended into the shadows, making her seem even more ominous. The alien woman couldn't tell if she was human or something else. Her features were too hidden, too guarded. For a long moment, no one spoke. The alien woman held her breath, waiting for the confrontation that she knew was about to come. This was the moment of truth, the moment everything would either fall apart or they would escape. "Didn't take you long to bring her here," the woman said, her voice low and cool. She had a heavy accent, but there was no mistaking the underlying menace in her words. The human stepped in front of the alien woman, his expression hardening. "This wasn't part of the plan, Alia," he said, his tone clipped, his voice carrying a cold edge. Alia, the alien woman's mind raced, trying to piece together who this was. But there was no time for questions. The air in the room felt thick with tension, and she could see the flicker of something dangerous in the woman's eyes. The woman, Alia, glanced at the alien woman, a slow, almost calculating look. "You think I didn't know what you were up to?" And Alia's voice cut through the silence, and the alien woman could hear the disdain in every word. "You've been too careful, too obvious. You think hiding her away here will solve everything. You're wrong. You're not the only one who's been watching her. You're not the only one who's been planning." The alien woman's heart skipped a beat. Who was this woman? What was her connection to the human? And more importantly, why had she come here? Rian, the human, didn't flinch. "What do you want, Alia?" he asked, his voice steady, though the tension in his stance betrayed his unease. Alia stepped further into the room, her eyes still locked on the alien woman. "I want what's mine," she said, her lips curling into a faint smile. "You've been protecting her, keeping her hidden, but you can't protect her forever, not from me, not from the people who are looking for her." Rian's eyes narrowed. "You're not getting anywhere near her." The alien woman felt the weight of Alia's gaze, and she could sense the silent challenge in the air. It was like a standoff, but the stakes were higher than anything she had experienced before. The human Rian seemed determined to shield her, but she could feel the fear creeping into his posture. What was it about this woman that made him so afraid? "What's going on?" the alien woman whispered, her voice trembling slightly as she stepped closer to Rian. "Who is she?" Rian's eyes flickered to her, a brief moment of hesitation before he responded. "Alia is one of them, one of the people I've been running from. She's not just a threat to you, she's a threat to me." The alien woman's stomach tightened. She didn't know what that meant, but she could see the fear in Rian's eyes. He wasn't lying. Alia's laugh broke through the tension, cold and mocking. "Oh, Rian, you think you can protect her? You think anyone can stop what's coming?" The alien woman looked back and forth between the two, her mind racing to keep up. Was Rian not who he seemed to be? Who was Alia really working for? The questions piled on top of each other, and she could feel herself sinking into the uncertainty of it all. "You're not the hero here, Rian," Alia continued, her voice dripping with disdain. "You've been playing both sides, helping her, hiding her. You think the people you're running from will just forget. You've made yourself a target, and her too." Rian's grip on his weapon tightened, but his gaze softened, meeting the alien woman's eyes. "I won't let them hurt you," he said firmly, his voice strong now, full of resolve. Alia's smile faded, and she stepped closer, her voice lowering to a whisper that sent chills through the alien woman's spine. "You already have, Rian. You already have." There was a long, tense silence. The alien woman could feel the weight of Alia's words, and she wasn't sure whether to believe them or fear them. Was Rian lying to her? Was he playing some kind of double game? Or was Alia manipulating them both? "Get out," Rian growled, stepping between the alien woman and Alia, his posture rigid with determination. "I'm not handing her over. Not to you, not to anyone." Alia's expression darkened. "You don't get to make that decision anymore," she said. "The people I work for have already decided her fate. They'll come for her. They'll come for you. and there's nothing you can do to stop it. With a final, lingering glance at the alien woman, Alaya turned and strode toward the door, but not before she left one last chilling remark. You'll see. There's no escaping what's coming. The door slammed shut behind her, leaving the room cold and silent once more. Rian remained motionless, his back still to the door. The alien woman could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his fists were clenched at his sides. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The weight of the conversation, the threats, the danger they were now in, all hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Finally, Rian spoke, his voice steady but heavy. She's right about one thing, he said quietly. You can't stay here, not anymore. The people after you'll stop at nothing. The alien woman's heart sank. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about something much larger, something she hadn't yet begun to understand. Whatever Alia had hinted at, whatever Rian had been trying to protect her from, it was coming, and they were running out of time. Rian turned to face her fully now, his eyes searching hers. I promised I would help you, and I will, but we need to leave tonight. The sooner we move, the better. The alien woman nodded, her mind still reeling from the encounter. But one thing was clear now: this wasn't just about her survival anymore. This was about a war, and whether she liked it or not, she was already caught in the middle of it. The dark passed. The air in the room felt colder after Alia's departure. Every breath the alien woman took seemed to draw in the heavy weight of the silence that followed. Rian stood by the door, his back turned to her, his face shadowed in the dim light. The tension from the confrontation hung like a storm cloud, and the alien woman couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to spiral out of control. She wanted to speak, to ask him what that had been about, to understand why Alia had been so insistent and why Rian was clearly hiding something, but she hesitated. Every question she asked seemed to lead to more mystery, more danger, and for now, there was a more pressing concern: what came next. Rian turned, meeting her eyes for the first time since Alia left. His gaze was heavy, troubled, as though the weight of his past had finally caught up with him. You deserve to know, he said, his voice quiet. He took a deep breath, as though gathering the courage to speak. But before I tell you everything, you need to understand one thing. This, he gestured vaguely to the room, to the whole situation they found themselves in. This is bigger than both of us. I didn't bring you here just to protect you. I thought I could keep you safe, but there are things I didn't expect. Things that came with you, with the choices I made. The alien woman stepped forward, her eyes searching his, trying to make sense of his words. What do you mean? What choices? Rian hesitated. I didn't always live here, on this planet, he began, his voice distant, as if the very act of speaking about it brought up memories he'd long buried. I was born on another world, not far from yours. My people, they're not like yours. We were explorers too, but we were ambitious, ruthless, even. The alien woman's stomach twisted. She could feel the gravity in his words, but she didn't interrupt. There was something raw, something vulnerable in his tone that she hadn't heard before. This was no longer about her alone, this was about him. Too, I worked with a group of scientists and military officers, Rian continued, his voice low, trying to unlock the secrets of the universe. The same ambition that drove us to explore other worlds, It also drove us to experiment with things we didn't fully understand. His hands clenched into fists, as though he was reliving the mistakes of his past. And that's when we found it. Found what? The alien woman asked, her voice a whisper. Rian looked at her, his eyes darkening. The thing that changed everything. He didn't need to explain further. The alien woman understood it. Whatever it was had turned his world upside down. And now, whatever it was here, linked to her in some way. It was a device, he went on. Ancient, powerful. We thought we could control it. Harness it for good, but we were wrong. He shook his head, the memories haunting him. We were fools. The alien woman felt a knot of fear tightened in her chest. What happened to it? It was destroyed, Rian said, his voice filled with regret. Or so we thought. But it didn't end there. The device, it left behind something. A trail, a mark. And now, everything we did has come back to haunt us. The alien woman's pulse quickened. She could see where this was going, but she couldn't bring herself to believe it. What does this have to do with me? Rian's eyes met hers, and for the first time since they met, she saw something raw, something regretful. The device, the experiments, it had a side effect. It altered the fabric of space and time. It left a trace, and that trace is you. You're part of it now. You've been marked. And there are people, dangerous people, who will stop at nothing to find you. The room felt like it was closing in on her. She was the trace, she was the key, and this device, this thing had connected her to a past she couldn't even begin to understand. No wonder the humans here were so fearful of her. No wonder Alia had come looking for her. You're not just a survivor, Rian added, his voice heavy with guilt. You're part of the reason they're after you. They think you have the answers they need, and they'll do anything to get them. The alien woman felt a chill spread through her body. She had come to this planet searching for a way to survive, to escape the pain of her past. But now, she was caught in the middle of a war one she didn't even know existed. And if words were true, She was tied to it in ways she couldn't possibly understand. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" she asked, her voice sharp. The betrayal in her chest was undeniable. "Why hide it from me?" Rian's face softened with regret. "I didn't want to pull you into this," he said quietly. "You had enough to deal with, and I thought I could protect you, but I should have told you sooner. I should have trusted you." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The weight of the situation hung between them like an invisible storm, ready to break at any moment. The alien woman felt the ground beneath her feet shift. Everything she had believed in the world she had known was slipping away, replaced by something darker, more dangerous. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. "What's the point of running if they're always going to find me?" Rian stepped forward, his eyes filled with determination. "The point is that we fight. I promised you I would help you, and I will. We're not running anymore. We're taking a stand. I don't care what happens next, but I'm not letting them take you without a fight." His words, though heavy with the weight of the situation, ignited something within her. She had come to this planet expecting to survive, but now survival wasn't enough. She couldn't just sit back and let her fate unfold around her. "Where do we start?" she asked, her voice steady now, filled with a new sense of purpose. Rian's gaze softened, but his resolve was unshaken. "We start by finding the others, the ones who aren't looking for you as a weapon. There are people who can help us, but we don't have much time." The alien woman nodded. For the first time since crashing on this strange planet, she felt a sense of control over her future. No longer was she a helpless outsider. No longer was she just running. The battle had just begun, but she knew one thing. This fight was no longer just about her survival. It was about saving the universe from a dark past that threatened to consume everything. And it was a battle she wasn't going to fight alone. A new bond forms. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the land as the alien woman and Rian stood at the edge of a cliff, staring into the vast expanse below. Their escape had been swift but quiet, taking them far from the safety of the hideout, deep into the unknown. The world stretched out before them like a vast desert, its emptiness almost suffocating. Yet, in this desolation, a sense of urgency pushed them forward. They hadn't spoken much during the trek. Every step they took was a reminder of the danger. Closing in, they couldn't trust anyone. Every face, every shadow could be an enemy. Alaya's words echoed in the alien woman's mind, her chilling prediction that someone was always watching, always waiting. But despite the fear gnawing at her, there was something else, a flicker of hope, something she hadn't felt in days. Rian turned to her, his eyes heavy with the weight of everything they had learned. "We're getting closer," he said, his voice steady, though the exhaustion was evident in his face. He hadn't slept much since they fled. He had barely eaten. The alien woman nodded, though she wasn't sure if she believed him. Every passing hour felt like a countdown. The further they traveled, the closer the unknown forces came. Her mind was a storm of questions, none of which she had answers to. Who was Alaya really working for? Who were the people Rian had angered, the ones who were hunting them both down? And most importantly, what role did she play in all of this? "We don't have much time, do we?" she asked, her voice low, yet filled with a quiet strength. "No," Rian answered, his eyes darkening. "They're closing in. But I've found something. There's a group people who can help us, people who can protect you, and maybe even give us the answers we need." "Who are they?" the alien woman asked, her curiosity rising. She was tired of running, tired of being the hunted. She needed answers, and if there was even a chance of finding them, she would take it. "They call themselves the Sentinels," Rian said, his voice dropping to a whisper as though speaking their name aloud might summon them. "They're a secret faction of people, scientists, military, rebels, people who know about the device. They've been tracking its effects for years, and they've been watching you." Her heart skipped a beat. "They know about me." Rian's gaze softened. "Yes, they've been following the trail of energy that the device left behind. It's how they knew where to find you, how they knew you were the key. But they're not like the others. They won't use you, they'll help you." The alien woman swallowed hard. She didn't know whether to feel relief or dread. People who had been watching her, tracking her, she wasn't sure if she could trust them. After all, she didn't know Rian completely either. And the truth of the matter was, she had no choice but to rely on him. Rian could see her hesitation and gave her a reassuring look. "I know it's hard to trust anyone right now, but these people, they're the only ones who can protect you. And they're our best chance of figuring out how to stop what's coming." She nodded, though doubts still lingered. This wasn't just about her survival anymore, it was about something far greater. The device, the war, the forces that wanted to use her for their own ends. She was standing at the center of something much bigger than she had ever imagined. As they began their descent from the cliffside, a strange sound broke through the silence. An engine, distant but unmistakable. Rian froze, his eyes narrowing as he scanned the horizon. "They have found us," he whispered, a flicker of panic in his eyes. The alien woman's breath caught in her throat. She knew they couldn't afford to be found. Not now. Rian grabbed her arm, pulling her toward a nearby rocky outcrop. They crouched low, hiding in the shadow of the rocks as the sound of the engine grew louder. The alien woman's heart pounded in her chest as her mind raced. Was it the people Rian had angered? Was it the sentinels coming to rescue them, or was it something far worse? Suddenly, the sound stopped. Silence followed, oppressive and heavy. The world seemed to hold its breath. Rian's hand tightened around hers. "Stay still," he muttered, his voice barely audible. Seconds stretched into what felt like hours. Every passing moment felt like a lifetime. The alien woman could feel the pulse of fear in her veins. They were trapped, exposed. The slightest sound would give them away. Then, a figure appeared on the horizon. She couldn't make out the details at first, but as the figure approached, the alien woman's heart skipped a beat. It was a human, but not like Rian. This person was cloaked, their face obscured by a dark mask. They carried a weapon, one she recognized instantly. The very weapon used by those who had hunted her kind on her home planet. "Get down," Rian hissed, pulling her deeper into the shadows. But it was too late. The cloaked figure had seen them in one swift motion. The figure raised a gun, pointing it directly at them. The alien woman's instincts kicked in before her mind had a chance to catch up. She shoved Rian aside, lunging toward the figure with a speed that surprised even her. She didn't know why she did it. It was reckless, dangerous. But she couldn't let Rian get hurt. She couldn't lose him now, not when they were so close to answers. The figure didn't move. They didn't flinch as she closed the distance. And then, in the blink of an eye, something unexpected happened. The figure lowered their weapon and pulled off the mask. "Rian," the figure said, their voice calm but full of an unmistakable authority. "It's time to stop running." Rian stood frozen for a moment, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Kai," he whispered, the name barely escaping his lips. The alien woman stepped back, confusion flooding her. Who was this? Why had she lowered the weapon? "Kai," the figure looked at her, a flicker of recognition in their eyes. "You must be the one Rian has been protecting." Rian's voice was filled with a strange mix of relief and regret. "I didn't think they'd find us this soon." "Rian," Kai said, their voice softening. "You've been running too long. It's time to face what you've done. And it's time to face what's coming for all of us." The alien woman could feel the shift in the air. This was no longer about her survival. It was about confronting the past, about fighting the ghosts that haunted them both. Kai's presence felt like a turning point. Something had changed. They were no longer running, and now, together, they would face the storm that had been brewing for far too long. A life transformed. The storm was coming. Dark clouds swirled ominously overhead as the wind picked up, howling through the narrow canyon where Rian, the alien woman, and Kai crouched behind a cluster of rocks, waiting in tense silence. They were no longer alone in the world of secrets and lies. What had started as a desperate struggle for survival had evolved into something far more dangerous and far more important. The weight of what was at stake hung heavily in the air. The alien woman felt the ground beneath her pulse with energy, as if the very planet could sense the gravity of their situation. The device, the one she had barely understood, was more than a relic. It was the key to everything. And now, with Kai's arrival, they were about to confront it. To face the forces that had shaped their lives and brought them together. There was no going back. "We need to move quickly," Kai said, their voice calm but urgent. "The sentinels are waiting for us, but the others are closing in. The device has drawn them here, and they know we're getting closer. Once we activate it, there's no turning back." Rian, who had been standing watch, turned to face the alien woman. His expression was a mix of determination and regret. He had promised to protect her, but with every passing moment, he knew that promise was becoming harder to keep. The enemies who had hunted him for so long were now after her, and they were not people you could escape from. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice low. "Once we open this door, we can't unsee what we're about to learn. It could change everything for all of us." The alien woman's heart raced as the weight of his words sank in. Could she truly handle the truth of what she was about to face? The past, the future, the choices they were making, they all hinged on the device, the one that had torn her from her homeworld and set her on this path. She had been running for so long, unsure of what she was running toward, but now it felt different. She wasn't just a survivor anymore. She was a fighter, and if they could unlock the truth of the device, they could shift the balance of power in the universe. "Let's finish this," she said, her voice steady but filled with resolve. "I'm not running anymore." Rian nodded, his eyes filled with a flicker of something, perhaps admiration, perhaps something deeper, but he didn't speak. Instead, he turned, leading them down a narrow, jagged path that cut through the canyon. The earth beneath them was cracked and uneven, as if it had been scarred by some ancient force. The alien woman's mind raced as she followed him, trying to prepare for what they were about to uncover. The device, a relic of unimaginable power, had been hidden for centuries. It had caused a war between her people and others. It had shaped the fate of entire civilizations. And now, it was in her hands. "I still don't understand," she whispered as they moved. "Why me? Why was I chosen?" Rian glanced back at her, his expression unreadable. "You weren't chosen. The device wasn't looking for a specific person. It's just you. You were caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. And when it activated, it marked you, and now you're the only one who can stop it." They reached a ledge, and the ground suddenly opened up before them. Below was a cavern, its walls lined with strange symbols that pulsed with faint green light. The alien woman could feel the energy radiating from the symbols. This was it, the heart of the power. Down there, Kai said, pointing to a platform at the center of the cavern. It was glowing with the same green light. The device, it's waiting for you. The alien woman took a deep breath. She didn't know what to expect, but she had come too far to back out now. She stepped forward, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on her as she moved toward the platform. The silence around them was deafening, the only sound the echo of their footsteps. She could see it now, the device. It was shaped like a massive stone artifact, covered in intricate markings and glowing with an eerie, unearthly light. It seemed alive, pulsing with a strange energy, as though it could sense her presence. I have to do this, she said, more to herself than to anyone else. Rian stepped beside her, his voice quiet but firm. We're in this together. The alien woman placed her hands on the device, feeling its cool surface under her fingers. The moment she made contact, a surge of power shot through her, so intense that it almost knocked her off her feet. She gasped, her mind filled with visions of distant stars, dying planets, and endless battles. She could see the history of the device, its creation, and the chaos it had caused. She saw herself, or rather something like her, using the device to destroy her own people's planet. The destruction was overwhelming. Desolate cities, burning skies. She had been part of it, unknowingly, just as the device had changed everything. She was linked to it, bound by its power. But now, she had a choice. The alien woman's vision shifted, and suddenly, she wasn't alone. She was standing in front of a massive figure being cloaked in darkness, its form shifting like liquid shadow. She could feel its power, its intent. It was the source of all the suffering, the thing that had manipulated her people. You can't stop it, the being said, its voice deep and cold. You cannot change what's been set in motion. You are nothing more than a tool in this war. The alien woman shook her head, a fire igniting in her chest. No, she wasn't just a tool. She was the key. And this time, she would control her fate, with a force she didn't know she had. She reached out and activated the device. The entire cavern shook as light exploded from the platform, swirling around her. The ground beneath them trembled as the ancient power awakened, but this time, it was hers to command. In that instant she understood. She was more than just the mark of the device, she was its counterbalance. Her people, the ones who had suffered so long, had created this device, but it had been corrupted, and now, she was the one who could unmake it. The alien woman closed her eyes, her hands gripping the device. I am not your weapon, she said, her voice stronger than it had ever been. I choose to end this. The light intensified, filling the cavern with a blinding glow. Rian and Kai shielded their eyes, but the alien woman stood tall, her resolve unshaken. The device responded to her, pulsing with raw energy, and as she focused all her will on it, the power began to shift. The shadowy being's voice echoed, but it grew fainter, its power fading. You cannot stop the future, it hissed. I am the future, the alien woman replied, her voice steady and full of power, and I will reshape it. With a final surge of energy, the device exploded with a burst of light. The ground beneath them cracked, and the cavern began to collapse. But in the midst of the chaos, the alien woman felt something she hadn't felt before: freedom. The war was over. The device was no longer a weapon, it was a tool of change. And the alien woman had reclaimed her destiny. As the dust settled and the light faded, Rian and Kai approached her, their faces filled with awe. You did it, Rian said, his voice thick with disbelief. You changed everything. The alien woman nodded, but she didn't feel the weight of victory. She felt ... peace. The battle was over, but a new life was just beginning. And for the first time, she wasn't running from her past. She was walking toward the future.